Good afternoon, and welcome to our Conscious Marketing panel conversation. This is truly a three-way partnership between Conscious Capitalism Twin Cities, AMA Minnesota, and Improving. Brief shout out as well to Microsoft Teams live event, which is how we are delivering this event to you today, as well as to LinkedIn events. It's a new feature from LinkedIn that I actually learned from one of our panelists, Alan Wallner. You'll hear from him later. I'm going to share a little bit of information about AMA Minnesota as well as Conscious Capitalism. I just want to take a moment and thank our Improving producers. So first of all, Justin Barnett is our lead AV producer. Michael Slater is production support today. He also leads Improving's video production across all of North America. And Cheryl Anderson is also on as production support. So a huge thank you to the three of you who jumped in to help us with this just last week. So this is really one of those just-in-time deliveries, and we hope that you enjoy today's event. So first, I'm going to give a brief overview of AMA Minnesota. The American Marketing Association is a national association with chapters across all of America. And the membership is $149 per year. And with that membership, you get access to not only your local community, but the entire national AMA community. There's weekly perks for members, reduced fees for programs. In fact, right now that we're doing virtual, the pricing is varying, but in some cases for members, we're making things free. Various member discounts, and as I said, and you can see on this slide, the national organization with over 65 professional chapters, and then additionally there's collegiate chapters. A new membership perk for AMA Minnesota. There's going to be one free online training released every single month, valued at $34 a piece, as well as other perks such as toolkits and research and ebooks and exclusive content. This is going to be content that's only available to members. And if you do the math, membership really pays for itself by watching only 4 trainings per year. Upcoming events here in Minnesota, but of course, really you can join from anywhere. At the end of September, we have a conversation about changes in consumer buying behavior and marketing messaging. This will be put on by one of our board members, Dan Riley, who's with SMS Research Advisors. And Dan is just a fantastic presenter, super knowledgeable, and they have some really interesting research that they will be presenting about what's been happening right now in the past 6 months during the pandemic. That's going to be Tuesday, September 29th at 5:30 p.m. Central. You can register at amaminnesota.org/events. Also, a big thank you to our AMA Minnesota sponsors, Marcom and their new product, Hoodoo, which is an app that sort of matches candidates with job openings. It's like Match.com, but for jobs. Plottit does our website, Crash Ensues, Agency, the Unagency, their amazing video production, and the Research Edge does our market research, including our member survey. So thank you so much to our AMA sponsors. Shifting gears slightly, we will go to Conscious Capitalism Twin Cities. Wanted to talk just for a moment about what exactly is conscious capitalism. So for those of you on this event who are new to conscious capitalism, Conscious capitalism goes by 4 pillars. The first is higher purpose. So beyond profits, a conscious company has a higher purpose. Profits are certainly important, and revenue, of course, drives business, and we cannot do the wonderful things that we do without a revenue stream, but a conscious business has a higher purpose. A conscious business also has a stakeholder orientation. Rather than simply a shareholder orientation concerned only about shareholder equity, a conscious business expands that orientation to include, yes, your shareholders and your owners, but also all of your stakeholders. Well, who are your stakeholders? Those are your customers, your employees, your community. It could be your suppliers, your vendors, your distributors. It could even be the environment. And conscious capitalism philosophy says you can make business decisions based on any one of those groups and see an impact on your top line revenue, which ultimately impacts your bottom line. As well, the 2 other pillars of conscious capitalism are conscious leadership, and that is showing up as a leader in your community, in your society, advocating for your business interests as well as members of your community. That's part of what we do through our conscious capitalism chapters. And the final pillar is conscious culture, which is a conscious business creates an intentional culture so that the stakeholders, which include your employees, feel valued. And, there's an adage, take care of your employees will take care of your customers, and your customers will take care of your bottom line. How to get involved with Conscious Capitalism Twin Cities. We have individual memberships available for $150 per year. The benefits are listed here. Quarterly events at a 50% discount. Of course, right now during COVID, we are doing these events for free. There is a CEO breakfast that we put on that is a little bit in flux this year, of course, as everything is, but do look for that next year in 2021. We also offer a Conscious Capitalism 101 course, member-only events, and networking events at no charge. Again, right now, most things are free of charge as we figure out how to navigate the virtual event space. There's also the option of a corporate membership for $2,000 a year, and these corporate members are also our sponsors. That's how we refer to them. And so there are various benefits to being a corporate member as listed on the screen. And that last bullet point about logo on our materials, you'll see that coming up in just a moment. How to get involved in future events. We will be doing Purposeful Pints. This will be virtual. It's going to happen on October 8th, which is a Thursday, and probably be around happy hour, probably around this time. And then in November, we will actually partner with AMA Minnesota again to bring you Conscious Selling, a panel conversation. And there'll be more details coming out about that as they are available, but we will be organizing that. It'll be sometime in November. Unfortunately, I don't yet have an exact date, but who's planning out to November? I know I'm not. Big thank you to our corporate members. Improving is one of our corporate members, as well as Global Tax Network, Salveo Partners, and Envision IT. And folks from Improving, Salveo Partners, as well as Envision are also on the leadership team. And just a big thank you to all of those folks, particularly those who are on our leadership team. You can read more about them at consciouscapitalism.org/twin-cities. So without further ado, I am going to pass it over to my colleague, Diana Osberg. Diana is a part of AMA Minnesota, and she and I have been talking about doing an event such as this for quite some time now, at least a year, if not longer. So really happy that it's finally happening. And Diana is going to introduce our panelists. So with that, I'm going to ask our magical producers to switch scenes to the presenters. And thank you so much for coming. We are so glad that you are here.
Thank you, Alyssa. I'm Diana Osberg, and I'm an active member of the Minnesota AMA. I love to moderate panels, so I'm really excited about everybody that we have here today. You're going to learn so much. I'm also a regional marketing manager for a company called Home Franchise Concepts. My day job is consulting on all things marketing, specifically digital for owners for budget blinds, tailored living, and concrete craft all over the Midwest. So let's take a moment to introduce the three members of our panel today. I want to thank David, Roxandra, and Alan for sharing your knowledge with us. And I'm going to have each of you just take a few moments to tell us about your fabulous selves and the company that you lead. Let's start with David.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be on this panel to share just a few thoughts with you. My name is David Edgerton Jr. I am the managing principal and chief consultant of the DEJ Group. The DEJ Group was founded earlier this year, basically to help minority entrepreneurs be successful. And we do that by providing coaching services, we provide educational curriculum, and we also provide some different types of experiences so that entrepreneurs of color can not only take advantage of unseen opportunities, but also just to really be in a position to grow their businesses so they can continue to contribute to the communities they serve. That's what I've been working on. I also am an adjunct professor at 3 universities. I have roughly about a 25 to 26 year career doing things in information technology, business development, and diversity, equity, and inclusion, which we may be talking about a little bit about today. And that's just a little bit about me, and I'm looking forward to sharing some more thoughts with you as we participate in this conscious conversation about conscious marketing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Cannot wait to hear about everything that you talked about, specifically inclusivity. You have so much to share with us. Next, I would like to introduce Roxandra. Roxandra Maitreya is joining us from Toronto, Canada. So she has a fabulous company called Vital Directives. And if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your company, I would appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Roxandra Maitreya, and it's such an honor to be here. The topics that we're talking about today, I believe that they have so much importance in all our entrepreneurs' life. I've been an entrepreneur for 18 years. My company and I stand for a strong belief in each person's innate capacity for healing from injuries and long-term wear and tear induced conditions. We work with people who struggle with discomfort, pain, injuries, and the constant fear that they might injure themselves even more, and who would like to be able to move without pain, to have a great posture, and the confidence that they're doing the right thing for themselves. I have a step process, a 9-step process, and together with a full support system and personalized coaching and long-term planning, our clients transform their bodies and their lives. And they live staying active, they look and feel younger, and basically they age without getting old, which is something that I truly believe in and I stand for, because as the years go by, we don't have to feel less than we were a few years back. And as I said, it's wonderful to be here for this conversation today.
Thank you, Ruxandra. I love the tone of your voice, and I love the idea of learning how to age without getting old. I was introduced to Ruxandra through Alan Wallner, so thank you very much, Alan, for being here today. Alan is the president and visionary of conscious branding in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. So Alan, if you could take a few moments to introduce yourself and your company.
Sure, it's a pleasure to be here with everyone. I appreciate the invite. I'm going to kind of mix up a little personal and how it segued into business, because it has a lot to do with how we're doing things these days. Things sort of happened when my middle child told me that she was transgender. And I had to deal with a lot of emotions and work to figure out what that meant for my daughter, for myself, and my family. And this journey helped me to understand a different way of looking at the world and even a different way of seeing people. It even impacted my why, my purpose in life, kind of what we're going to be talking a little bit about today. And I didn't think this would impact my business or what I did for a living, but yet I realized that it does. You see, often people think about their brand as their logo, but in reality, it's the perception that people have of you based on the experience you've created for them and how you made them feel. And your logo is just the visual identifier for that perception. But branding isn't about the physical attributes. It's about the inner presence, the energy, the life force behind the company. Okay. And it's the owner and the culture that creates that brand experiences for a business. And it's the way we treat other people and work together to create something remarkable. And that's what I work to call conscious branding. And it's literally changed how we work with companies. And we actually named the business after it as well. And it's how we work with our clients, how to build brands that align with a greater purpose, and even how to just drive profits and so that you can be more profitable so you can give back more. And, you know, there's a lot more to it all, and we'll tap into a little bit of it later. But yeah, that's, you know, I'm leveraging personal experiences to create and drive what we're doing and to help create a difference for other people.
And you do fabulous work. So thank you, Alan, for being here today to share your story and your expertise. So let's pivot. I just had to throw in that word because we are all hearing it a lot. It's the buzzword of 2020, I think, whether you're in business or just in your personal life. Everybody's pivoting. And let's talk to the people who want to lead their teams and market their business in a conscious way. And I thought the best way to go about this is Alyssa mentioned the 4 pillars of conscious capitalism, and we're going to kind of use that as a guidepost for us as we have this conversation. So the first pillar is all about creating a why for your business. It begins with why. You must understand why your company exists. And as Alan had said, it's really all about perception and how you make them feel. I want to start by having David talk about this because I know you have some fabulous examples of how you talk to owners and help them and encourage them to develop the why for their business.
Yes, that is a wonderful topic to start with. I would say that when I engage with founders and business owners, the thing that I ask them is, have you discovered the 2 best days in your life? The first best day of your life is definitely the day you're born. So your birthday is a personal holiday, and we celebrate those, especially at my house and across the world, as your personal holiday. But the second best day that's in your life is the day you find out why you had the first day. So when you find out why you were born, that begins to shed the light on and illuminate why you're even on the planet. So when you start talking about purposeful business and marketing, or even starting a business based on purpose, if you don't understand those first 2 days, then it's going to be really hard for you to be able to put consciousness and purpose into your business. Now, after you do that, the second thing that I would say is that you would now have something to be able to deliver to a market. So now you are a solution. You personally, before you build a business, you personally are a solution to someone else's problem. So someone else has what you need, and you definitely have what they need. So when we start talking about purpose, all you're really doing when we start talking about marketing too, is trying to find out where everyone is that you have the solution to for their problem. So that's how you begin to have the conversation around purpose and how what you exist to do. You know, we talk about mission and vision all the time and some of these really nice strategic management words, but at the end of the day, mission, why you exist to give that solution to somebody who has a problem that you are there to fulfill. And that's how you begin to step into purposeful marketing and purposeful capitalism and consciousness around all of those.
I love that. I think that's going to be my first takeaway of the day. I love the key takeaways from anything I attend. Number one, there it is. Thank you.
Yes, we got a couple more for you.
I know you do.
Start
I know you
strong.
do.
So I wanted to come out the gate strong on this one and just let you
All
know
right.
that,
Well,
hey,
let's
that's
see
how we
what
do
Alan's
it.
Let's see what Alan's got for us, because I'm going to ask him to share a few questions that he would take an organization or an entrepreneur through when they're thinking about what they need to think about to develop that why.
Sure, yeah, and I like the way David was kind of starting it out, and how you embedded the solutions aspect in there. I think that's really good. The why in a business usually comes from the owners or the founders as well as the existing culture. So asking questions around that to develop a why for a business, it can get fairly complicated. So you need to really take a look at, I guess it's more of a process, I guess, that I take companies through. And we look at 8 brand characteristics. It's how do you want your brand to thrive? What's the essence of your brand? The emotion, leadership aspects, relationships that you want to have, the culture you want to have, the impact you want to have, and the value that you want to deliver. And we look at, we kind of create a vision, a belief, and actions around each one of those. And this is a whole process of asking questions. You know, it's like, what are your beliefs around each of these areas, each of these brand characteristics? Who's your target audience at their high level, and understanding how you can help them overcome their challenges that are, you know, in relation to what you do. And from that, that's where you start going a little deeper and really exploring a vision around each one of those areas. Now, we've even encountered some companies where like, I don't know what my vision is anymore. I don't know, I've lost it, because they've been working so diligently and so hard on their business and growing it, and that they've kind of lost themselves in their business, and it's a bit of an identity crisis. So we take them through things that they have going on. So what types of books do you have lying around at home? What are you interested in? What are you mostly passionate about? What could you do all day long for free and still be energized and excited? So we really kind of go into what gets you out of bed every day. And because running a business is tough, and there's a lot of ups and downs. And if you don't have that why, that deeper sense to keep you driving every day, you can burn out and you can lose that passion. So you need to really dig deep, and this purpose is something that kind of defines you. It becomes a declaration of who you are and where you're going with your life, and bringing your business along with you. It's almost like you're leveraging your business to fulfill on your purpose. And it has to be big, because if it's just if it's small, you'll accomplish it and it'll be done. You need to really push yourself. So people will come up with a why and say, okay, now let's go bigger. Let's go bigger. And you just have to really pay attention to how certain things make you feel while you're creating it, and even do some meditating and journaling around it, and a lot of reflection and conversations with one another, asking questions. So why did you do that? How did it make you feel? Just kind of open-ended questions, and then observing kind of where that dialogue goes, and you'll start seeing common threads. And it's all around having a conversation around it. And eventually you'll start having that declaration that we turn into kind of like a brand manifesto. And then that evolves into kind of one of the driving statements behind your brand. And I didn't give you exact questions because it is a whole process, and it's really a lot of improv, based on what is happening with an individual or with a business or both. And really observing. I guess the big thing to say is you can't listen with preconceived notions. When you're asking questions, you have to really be open and not have ideas around what the answer should be. You need to really listen, because everything is right under your nose. Everything you know is right under your nose, and so it's a matter of just really listening, and it will boil to the top.
I think that that's awesome. So speaking of listening and having a big why answered for their business, I think Roxandra and Vital Directives is a perfect example of that. So I wanted to switch gears and talk a little bit about the second pillar of conscious marketing, or running a conscious brand, is a focus on stakeholders. And like Alyssa said, healthy stakeholders can mean a lot of things. They're their guests, they're your vendors, they're your investors, they're your community, they're your team members. But healthy stakeholders is really what leads to a healthy business system. And Roxandra's got a great example of that in the way she approaches her business. So could you tell us a little bit about how you approach taking care of your previous guests, current guests, potential guests in your organization?
Yes. Well, a good example of what is my big why, supporting people in living their best lives in their best physical health, being able to do everything that they want to do, living life on their terms and feeling great about themselves. That's what drives me. That's my big why. People suffer needlessly. And if they had the right process in place, if they had the support, if they knew how long it will take and what needs to go into that process, then they would feel a lot better, a lot faster. So that's what I've done for 25 years. But I've done it in person with people coming to my physical location and me working with them one-on-one or in groups of people. And then on March 13th, everything went on lockdown. And that was a Friday, if I remember the dates correctly. Anyway, the next Monday, after the weekend, emails were sent to all my current clients, to all the people on my emailing list, and we got to be virtual on that Monday. We completely shifted, and I showed up every day, and I responded to every email. I stayed late at night because emails were coming in. People were scared. People were uncertain. They didn't know what was going on. And everybody needed a lot of support. So that's what I believe, that as a business owner, we have a responsibility. Mm-hmm. It's not that we're engaged in a transaction, I give you a service and you pay me back for it, that we take on a responsibility. And I realized that my responsibility was to show up in a way that probably I've never showed up before. Technically, I have been virtual for 6 months. And I realized that, yes, there were my clients who now were on board and they got support and they got to do something every day to feel better while everybody was in lockdown. And emotionally and mentally, that was very trying. But then I realized, okay, but I know a lot more people and they don't have this support. So then I started having a free session every week. I did that for more than 3 months, 1 session per week. And people from all over the world joined because my clients told their families and their friends, and they texted or emailed someone from Italy. And we had people from Italy and Germany and South Africa and Australia and the United States, Canada, where I'm from. And it was extraordinary to see how all these people showed up, and they would sign in on Zoom a lot earlier, and then they would just sit there and look at each other with tears in their eyes. Oh. So it was an extraordinary moment where people from around the world came together and they moved together. They took deep breaths, and by the end of the session, they felt like they were at peace and they could go about their business for another day. So that's what I believe that care for our community, for our clients, can do, and it is our responsibility as business owners.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I love that you solved 2 big problems there and had to do it very swiftly. You were able to bring people together online because they needed to have a solution, and you provided it for them very quickly, but you also helped develop that sense of community, which is so important right now. And everybody is looking for community in new and different ways. Thus, this great production that we're putting on today, it's something new probably for most of us, and we're so excited to be part of it. And shifting gears just a little bit again, you know, pillar 3 of a conscious brand is leadership. And I know that we have several things that we want to talk about here and some great stories to share. So a conscious brand is led by inspiring leaders who have a common vision. So we're going to talk a little bit about both of those things. And the purpose of leadership is not to divide and conquer. It's to unite people against a greater good. And then conscious leaders understand and embrace the higher purpose of the business, which we talked about, which is so critical, so valuable for any conscious brand, and then how they want to market to their consumers. But it comes down to recognizing the role of culture and how you go about developing that, and especially going about developing that in kind of this new normal that we're all in right now. There's an exceptional amount of opportunity out there that everybody can harness. And I can't wait to have David talk about this, but I'm going to have Alan talk about it first, about qualities you need to have or learn to be a conscious leader. Because I know, David, you're going to have some great stories to share, and I don't want to have to cut you off.
I'll cue you up. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Yeah. First of all, I want to clarify is that everyone is a leader. So it's not just people who hold a high position. Everyone is a leader, and it all starts by being self-aware and the ability to tell themselves the truth. You know, to be real honest with themselves, and to be open and to not be defensive. They need to be curious. They need to be committed to learning. It isn't about being right. It's about doing the right thing. And it's not about protecting your ego. So you need to kind of catch yourself when you're in that state and move into being more open. And I guess basically those are what I think are the key pillars to being a conscious leader, and to really, you know, be open and to set your personal I guess perspective aside for a moment and really, and again, kind of listen to people. So with that being kind of set up as a foundation, David, I'm kind of curious to kind of hear some of these stories I've been.
Well, I don't know about specific stories. There's so many. I just wanted to touch on, when we start talking about being conscious and the culture, what we got to really think about. In my humble definition, I look at culture as 3 things. It's what you believe, it's how you operate, right? And then it's really your values. So between your values, your beliefs, and how you operate, that creates this whole sense of culture. You have a culture in your home. You have a culture in your community. If you go to church, your church has a culture. If you play basketball and you're on a team, the team has a culture. It's not just the fact that we're talking about cultures within a company or an organization. Culture exists wherever those 3 things coincide. Mm-hmm. So when you start talking about building a conscious culture, then what you're saying is you have to have the right values in place that encourages consciousness, right? Which gets to inclusivity, which gets to, you know, diversity and equity and all those wonderful things. You have to have the right operating procedures. I'll use that term. How you do business has to encourage consciousness, right? So if you have that, and then it's about, you know, what do you believe? What do you believe as an owner operator? What do you believe as an employee? What do you believe as a supplier? What do you believe as an employee? What do you believe as an investor in an organization? All of those have to come into consideration when you're thinking about creating and sustaining a culture that's conscious. So I'd take it from that perspective and say, okay, well, if I'm trying to build a conscious culture, what am I doing all the way around? How am I treating my employees? How am I treating my customers? How am I treating my investors and stakeholders, right? How do I do that? Do they get the same experience every time? And regardless of background, regardless of perspective they're already coming from, am I still delivering the type of experience that would make them continue to come back to me for whatever it is that I supply to them? That's where the crux of what we're going to talk about today is, right in the middle of that, which is you got to have the right culture. And my good friend, I never met him, I wish I had, but Peter Drucker always said that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I would add to that breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and an evening snack if you don't get it right.
That's so true. That's so true. I wanted to talk a little, so you talked about culture, and Roxandra, you have a fabulous culture going in your organization. So I wanted to hear from your perspective, how do you and how have you provided value for your clients on a regular basis and develop this impressive sense of community?
I think it all stemmed from my desire, deep desire to help people feel better. And given where I started when I was younger in my body, like multiple ankle sprains and knee sprains. And so I was always in pain, always something was inflamed. I couldn't do all the things that, kids and young people do, play sports and run around and do all that. So, but then as I developed as I studied and then developed my own process of helping someone, first helping me get better, I realized that it was possible. It was possible at a faster rate than what people are going through. And I just started to get so upset that people couldn't feel supported and given the right steps to feel better, faster, easier. So that's where I started. That was my thing. And I see someone hurting and not being able year after year after year to feel better. And I think that that's not acceptable. So I wanted to put everything in place to help my clients. That was my dream, to one day have my own place and work there and help people feel better. And now looking back, I always offered them more than just the exercises. The exercises were just, everybody teaches exercises. I offered them an education process, and an education process has no end. Right? So I have clients who've been with me for 25 years, for 20 years, for 15 years. And it's not that they're still in pain. No, now they're continuously educating themselves within the Vital Directives culture to get even better in their bodies. And most of us now, we're 10 or 20 years older, but we're better now in our bodies and how we feel and how we move than we were then when we were younger. So I think that I offer them support, serious support, and understanding and respect, and a continuous process of education, so that they felt every year that they were in a new place. So they stay interested. They want to do things better in their body and put the things in place that will diminish wear and tear later in life, that prevents injuries. So it's about quality of life, ultimately, living life on your own terms. I used that expression before. It's about living the life you want to live the way you want to live it, and not being, stopped by the fact that you cannot bend down and tie your shoes, or you cannot lift your grandchild, or you cannot walk the dog. I mean, this is a birthright. This is our birthright, to have a life that we live on our own terms. And I just wanted people to have access to a process that gives them that year after year after year. So that, to me, it's culture and community.
It definitely is culture and community. And speaking of that, and living life on your own terms, I think is such a just great mission. And obviously it's been a guiding light for you for many years. David, you talked about, you work with minority entrepreneurs and small business owners. What type of advice do you give them on how to develop create this purpose-driven culture based on inclusivity? What are your tips and advice?
I think that to make it almost like one answer to cover multiple ways to answer the question, it's really all about your personal business model. Everyone should have a personal business model, and at the center of that is a personal value proposition. Your personal value proposition has your purpose, really. Your personal value proposition has your purpose wrapped up in it. But the reason you should have that when you start talking about inclusivity is now when you're putting teams together, your value proposition adds something to the team that you want to add someone to. So now the team has a value proposition. That team has a value proposition to the organization. So if you have multiple teams within an organization, each one should be adding, generating, creating, and sustaining value for the overall organization. So when we start talking about inclusivity, it's really about what are the gaps that I have, and what talent, what value, what skill do I need to fulfill those, and being open to receive where that's going to come from, regardless of the source, regardless of the background, regardless of whatever geography is going to come from. So it's all about recognizing value that you have, recognizing the value in others, and then figuring out how to aggregate that so that you all together are creating value for your organization. That's how I get to true inclusivity without getting into, the 16 dimensions of diversity and getting to all this other stuff. Let's just keep it simple, right? It's really all about value creation from wherever it could come from and aggregating it so that it moves the overall organization forward. To me, that's inclusivity.
That is very valuable advice. And again, something for us all to really think about and take away from this time we have together today. But I want to talk a bit about marketing. And we've talked about working with entrepreneurs, working with organizations to create value and solving problems. But now you've got this brand that you've built. How do you go about marketing it to the consumers that makes sense for your organization? And really, I thought in the respect of time that each of you could maybe just give a tip. If you were to take a company that you work with and say, this is what you absolutely have to do for Q4 or as you go into the holiday season, what would that piece of advice be, knowing that the speed of technology has just really sped up for us the past year? Alan, why don't you start?
All right, yeah, it's a good question. First of all, you need to be really clear on your vision and who you are. So getting that situated and knowing that really well. The second piece of that is really knowing your target audience and knowing them really well. And I'm not talking about someone who owns a home. I'm talking about they have a name. How many kids do they have? What's their income? What are their hobbies? How are they feeling right now given the current business, the current climate and the current, with COVID and everything. And the reason why that is so important is because you get to understand their daily challenges. So not only their daily challenges, but their emotions. And that's how you're going to connect with them, is at that personal level. If you're just doing general marketing messaging right now, that's not connecting with people. You need to think about where they are personally, emotionally, and connect with them at the heart, and really be compassionate. It's not about making that sale. It's about helping people, just like what David was saying earlier. It's bringing that solution. Emotions are high, so really know your customer well and know how to talk to them and help them. So that would be my recommendation for wrapping up the year and going into 2021, is just really have that connection with your customer and that clarity.
And speaking in a compassionate way.
Yes.
I think that's the other piece about that. Roxandra, how about you? Marketing tip, piece of advice, whether it's for your company, a company in Canada that might be a different perspective, to think about than, you know, promoting in the US, or just, yeah, a great piece of advice?
Well, I always thought that I was a really poor marketer. And then a few years back, I heard this. Marketing, you don't do selling to someone. You do it for them, not to them, for them. And then for me, that just like, wow, that is amazing. I know how to do that. It means that that's about service and showing up and supporting and holding and loving and adoring and giving, you know, more and more and more. Okay, yeah. So that would be my advice to, yes, there are all the things that you talked about, and I'm sure, David, you're gonna bring a whole other level to it too. But for me, that was like, wow, because that's your perspective. That's how you're writing your emails. That's how you're talking on the phone with a prospective client. That's how you respond, you know, to a letter and so on. So for me, it's like, yes, just remember that we're doing that from a place of service as entrepreneurs. We're doing it for them, for our clients, for our community.
So valuable, and every single interaction matters. That's the other piece. That should always be the case, but now more than ever, every time you touch or communicate with someone, you just never know how that is going to make and affect their day. So always go above and make that extra effort. So David, a marketing tip from you and your perspective.
Yes, I want to take what Alan and Rashandra said and add to it, and at the same time give you a takeaway. So in order to really focus on the customer, we as traditionally trained marketers, my MBA is in marketing, what was beating our head was the 4 Ps, right? Product, price, placement, and promotion. Well, Harvard just put out an article a few years ago that turned that on its head. And what they basically said is instead of the 4 Ps, we now need to use a SAVE framework. For those that don't know what that means, instead of thinking of the product, we're now going to think of it as a solution, because that has a customer perspective in it. How is what you're putting out there becoming a solution to solve and fulfill their needs? So think of your products as solutions first. Then for the A, let's talk about the placement. We talked about logistics and where it is, but really the A represents access. So if you think about who you're trying to sell something to, how are they accessing what you're getting? Are you making sure it's wherever they feel comfortable receiving your product and service, how they want to do it? See, that takes the emphasis off you. Now, if we go to the V, well, let's talk about pricing, which we always know how to do that. You know, ISO pricing, cost plus pricing, you know, all that good stuff. Well, the V means value. So your customers, if they value what you have, then price becomes really a number that you're putting on it, but it's got to be something that they exceed as far as want more value than the value they're going to reach in their pocket and give you. So you got to look at it from a standpoint of how they value what you're producing. And then that last letter, E, well, you know, when we talk about promotion and throwing ads out and all the other stuff, really the E is not promotion. The E represents education. And education today means that teaching is the new marketing for this century and beyond. I never had anybody come when I go to Target to buy Cheerios, stand there and try to sell me Cheerios. It sells itself because of what it means to me, right? Yeah. So that is 4 pieces of one tip, which is let's make sure everything we do, and I'm gonna use this word, is customer centric first.
Customer centric first.
Was that okay?
Yes, all 3 of these tips were all about customer centric first. Absolutely. And I love that. I'm going to go look up that article because SAVE, one more good takeaway. So
yeah, I tell everybody when I'm ever on a panel, when I'm ever speaking, Google anything I say.
We're going to have some fact checkers
Google it.
Well, hey, we have about 10 minutes, so we have to get to one of my favorite parts of any panel that I moderate on is a lightning round of some quick 5 questions of little pieces of advice on what's going on in your personal world. So looking for 1 word, 1 sentence. If I tell you a brand you admire for their conscious marketing. Roxandra, want to go first?
The company I admire is PAX, Alison Armstrong Company. They focus on effective communication, not only between men and women, but within a company, within a family, between children and parents and children. And every piece of material they put out there is coming from a conscious marketing perspective. I admire them a lot. I actually studied their emailing process. Yes.
Thank you, Pax. Alan, how about you?
Actually, I selected a local company called C.H. Robinson. I really like that because they're a global business and they're integral to the underpinnings of how people get things throughout the world. You know, it's logistics, it's shipping, and they have a really deep purpose in terms of the planet, people, purpose. You know, they're trying to find ways all the time to use fewer resources, to leverage people's intelligence, love the people that they have there, and invest in their people. And they have a really great culture there. So that's kind of the company that I was kind of inspired by.
Terrific. Local Minnesota company. David, how about you?
I have 2. I would say Target leads us in, conscious marketing from a standpoint of representation. Mm-hmm. I follow a lot of the ads that they put out there, and I think they do a good job of making sure that they represent everybody they sell to. And could it be better? Of course, but I think they do a good job. And then another company that I'm really, I have a lot of respect for is Procter & Gamble. Mm-hmm. With all of the products they make, but also some of the ads that they're now having out there, like the talk and the look, where they're actually going out and head on addressing some of the social issues that we're now facing. I really have a lot of respect for them and what they're doing. I think they're a leader in that space.
Absolutely. 2 good examples. How about the best book or article? What are you reading lately? Alan, how about you?
I usually have like 5 or 8 books going on at once.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go look behind me to answer that.
Right,
yeah.
Pull something off the shelf.
Yeah, there's 2 that have been very interesting for me lately. One is called Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukov, and then 15 Commitments of Conscious Leaders by Jim, I think it's Dethmer, Diana Chapman, and Kaylee Warner Klemp or something like that. But those have been really good books and just good. Yeah, good insights.
Awesome. How about you, Roxandra?
Right, the same, but 5 books are on the go. But one that I've been the last few days, Inner Size: The New Science to Unlock Your Brain's Hidden Power by John Assaraf.
Love it. David, how about you?
I took a quick look.
What are you reading today?
Okay. The Invincible Company. I don't know who does that, but if you're a fan of the Business Model Canvas, all of those books in those series I have right there on that shelf. The Invincible Company is one of my that I'm getting into. But one of my favorites is Business Brilliant by Louis Schiff. Mm-hmm. What he did there is he interviewed millionaires and really tried to pull insights of how they think versus other people, and really did a good job of that. That one came out, I think, 2013, 2014. So those are like my top 2 right now, along with Grit and Drive and Habit, all the other one-word titles you can think of, right?
So many good ones. Well, speaking of that, what are you listening to right now?
What am I listening to? I'm listening. I love podcasts. I started my own, which maybe I'll answer that in another question if you got one on what we're going to do in 2020. But as far as what am I listening to, I'm listening to a couple of great groups. One is called Dirty Loops. Another one is called, what's that other group I'm listening to? I am a musician. This is my studio too that I'm in. So a lot of good music, but from a podcast standpoint, just different ones, just all over the place.
Depending on what you're feeling that day, that's how I go
Absolutely.
about what I'm going to
Absolutely.
choose. So, Alan, how about you? What are you listening to?
Well, I'm going to go the musical route because that's what kind of gives me my vibe and my energy all day long. And you guys are going to get a kick out of this because over the years, my kids have had my iTunes account. So I've got everything from Spice Girls on there all the way to High School Musical, Fleetwood Mac, ELO, Rush, we got everything on there. Yeah. So, it's just been sitting there and we play it whenever we go somewhere together. And so all of us are enjoying that music together, and it's just really fun.
That is really fun. Roxandra, how about you? What are you listening to?
My musical taste is very eclectic. I can listen to pretty much anything depending on the mood and the day, and I enjoy that. I enjoy, the diversity. What I'm listening to now when I walk from point A to point B, though, is Michael Singer's book, The Surrender, and I love doing that. I love, listening to audiobooks when I go for walks or just, going through the city.
Yeah, me too. We just have a few minutes, so I'm going to wrap one or two questions into one. So something new you've been able to focus on this year, or one thing you want to accomplish by the end of the year? Alan, how about, you go.
Well, one thing that I realized I really want to accomplish now is a membership site for my clients, which I never had to do with comprehensive library of recordings and so on. So that's quite exciting.
That is a big one.
And for us at Conscious Branding, we're going to be launching an online program for creating that life voice, creating the life force behind your company. So kind of the essence of your brand. So we're really looking forward to launching that.
You're going to try to launch that before the end of the year?
Yeah.
Awesome. I can't wait. Okay, David, how about you?
Yes. This past week, I launched a brand new podcast called The Now Narrative. And what it is I am interviewing minority entrepreneurs, the founders, and I am sharing their stories of success, challenge, and how they are beginning to scale their businesses and grow their businesses. I've got 4 episodes out there. It's called The Now Narrative. If I could plug it, thenownarrative.com. It's on iTunes, Stitcher, Deezer, everywhere you can get a podcast, it's there. One of the cool episodes is the one with Mrs. Edgerton, who started her business last year, and it is really, really, really doing well. So that banter back and forth, I think, is worth checking it out. And I hope to, by the end of the year, so this is September, I hope to have at least 12 more interviews done. I've got a couple already done, but to basically it's going to be a weekly podcast every Monday and really share those stories, because I'm building a directory of those businesses when I have those guests on. So now if you want to support Black and minority businesses, you have a new source and you have the story behind the business to go with it, so that you could basically send them a few dollars for the products and services they sell. So that's what I'm trying to get done by the end of it's already done. I just need to keep making it work for the rest of the year.
Oh my gosh, those are big goals for the end of the year. I am so impressed. I feel like I need to step up my game.
We're all hyped.
We just have a minute or two. You did mention finding your podcast in all of those places and spaces. I did want to say to everybody that's out there, we weren't able to do Q&A because of the format today, but Roxandra, David, Alan, I want to thank you so much for your time, your energy, your knowledge, and I know that all of them are on LinkedIn. Would love for you to connect with them, direct mail them directly through LinkedIn. That's going to be the easiest way to go about that. I want to thank Minnesota AMA and Conscious Capitalism for allowing us this platform to have this great conversation today. I mean, I was frantically writing myself, so I can't wait to follow up with each of you on my own individually. And I want to thank Improving really for their important support for this production today. So again, thank you, Alan, David, Roxandra, to the Minnesota AMA and Conscious Capitalism.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you so much.
Yes.
It was a
And
blast.
hey, this is Alyssa. I think you guys can hear my voice right now. You can't see me on screen. Just a huge thank you, Diana, to you. You were my partner in pulling this event together, so thank you so much. I loved the panel. You guys just were dropping so much wisdom on us, so thank you. And loved that question about what are you listening to. So if I may, I just want to say that, you know, a lot of people are familiar with the Hamilton soundtrack, which is amazing. And you know, if you haven't seen it, do Disney Plus, watch it. It's amazing. But what some people don't know about is there's a complimentary album called the Hamilton Mixtape, which is even more phenomenal. And there's some cover content, some original content. Hamilton Mixtape, I just cannot recommend it enough. It is pumping me up. It is so relevant for today. And that's my little plug there. My final thing is this is a marketing event, so I would be remiss if I did not mention the way that we promoted this event and how impactful that was. So with this partnership, this was promoted by Conscious Capitalism Twin Cities, AMA Minnesota. It was promoted on improving channels, improving Twin Cities channels, improving global channels, and LinkedIn live event. And I'm pleased to say that at last count, we had 100 people who had clicked on the live link who were watching live with us. And for Conscious Capitalism Twin Cities, that is a record for our virtual events thus far. And for AMA, that's actually also a record for people who actually showed up for our virtual events, I believe, except for one, it about ties with one we did on job searching for right now. Obviously, that's a big issue. So really excited about that. That was through LinkedIn events that we've been doing that. And this will live on in perpetuity through this link that can be shared out through the event and all of that stuff. So if there are any questions, Alyssa Bartlett can be contacted, Diana Osberg, as well as the rest of the panelists. We can all be found on LinkedIn. So thank you all so much and have a wonderful evening.